What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 10th Doctor David Tennant story, Blink. Yes, it is the very infamous, very well-known story, Blink, the first story of the Weeping Angels. It is a story that a lot of people say that if you want to get someone into Doctor Who, start them with Blink. I don't necessarily agree with that, not because it's not a good story, because, spoilers, it is a good story in my opinion. I just don't think it's quite the episode to start Doctor Who with, because it is kind of a Doctor-like story, although not really, because the main premise is the Doctor on this kind of video recording. So the Doctor is in the story a lot, but he's he's not actually there a lot, if that makes any sense. But yeah, it is of course a good story, and we will get into that today. But yeah, this is Blink. Let's get started with the cast. David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. Yep, so although this is a Doctor-like story in some way, it also isn't. David Tennant's in it a lot, just not physically there. He's on this recording, of course, and he's really good. I mean, this episode has had so many quotes and famous lines from it. Of course, the wibbly wobbly timey-wimey is a massive thing that's been called back on in future series. There's been shirts made of it, and just so many quotes. So many people know about wibbly wobbly timey wimey. You've of course just got the general "don't blink, blink and you're dead" kind of scene. There's so many good things from here, especially from David Tennant. He does a great performance. Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones. She is fine in this one. There's not really much to say because yeah, this is a Doctor-like story in some ways, but it's definitely a companion-like story in the regard of Martha. She doesn't really do anything in this story. She appears very briefly for like one sentence, on the recording that Sally Sparrow's watching, and of course you see her when Billy Shipton gets taken back to 1960 or whatever year it was, 1960 something. I can't remember exactly what the year is that he gets put back to, but yep, you see her then. But she doesn't really say a whole lot, and then of course you see her at the end as well, but she's just kind of there. So Freema Agyeman does great with what she's got here, but yeah, it is very much a Martha in the background story. I feel like I've got to mention Carey Mulligan as Sally Sparrow because she is the main character in this episode, really. She's the character that we're following, and she's really, really good. I mean, if we ever think of a character that could have become a companion, I think Sally Sparrow is right up there. She's such an interesting character, is acted really well by Carey Mulligan, and it's just an interesting character to watch along with. Just very likable, and it's got a good backstory, interesting. Yeah, it's not really much else to say. She's really, really good. The Doctor left a note behind wallpaper for Sally. So this is the cold open of the episode, where Sally is walking around this old abandoned house, and some weird stuff's going on. She sees this note under kind of wallpaper that's tearing off. She tears the wallpaper off, and it's a note from the Doctor telling her to duck because Weeping Angel's gonna throw something at her. She ducks, it's basically like, run for your life from the Doctor. That is the cold open of the episode, and it leaves us like, ooh, what is going on here? Kathy is taken back to 1920 by the Angels at the same time her grandson gives Sally a letter. So this is the first weird timey-wimey thing going on here. Sally and Kathy end up, Sally wants to go back to this house again to figure out what's going on here. She takes Kathy, her friend, along with her, and Kathy ends up getting taken by one of the Angels at just after the point, or just because they get a knock on the door. Kathy kind of wanders off, gets taken by the Angels, sent back to 1920, and it turns out the person at the door is actually Kathy's grandson. And Sally's like, what do you mean Kathy's grandson? What is going on here? And this is when everything starts getting very timey-wimey, and it's just that whole reveal and that whole thing. Sally thinks it's a joke. What is going on? Where's Kathy gone? It is just everything's happening there. The Doctor is on all these DVDs having half a conversation. So Kathy's brother, Larry, he owns like a DVD store, kind of like a Blockbuster sort of thing by the looks of it. And he has all these DVDs that have this conversation with the doctor on them. He's kind of talking, but it's like he's only having half a conversation. And, Larry's like, what is going on here? He's trying to get all these DVDs, figure out what all this is. And yeah, it's just an interesting thing that it, it's just weird how she walks into this, Sally walks into this shop and the doctor's just on the TV rambling about random stuff. It's like, what is going on here? Billy is sent to 1969 and has to live through until his death. Now, Billy is a kind of police officer, detective that Sally goes to. She wants to go to him about, she wants to go to the police station about, what is going on here, what's happening with, Kathy going missing in this house and everything. She is trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. She goes to the police. Billy Shipton is the one that she kind of gets assigned to, and or he's the one that's trying to help her out. And he likes her, and they want to go out on a date, but then he gets taken by an angel himself, gets sent back to 1969. She gets a call from him just after she's met him for the first time, and he's in hospital about to die. And yeah, it turns out that he's been sent back to 1969. He finds the doctor and Martha there, and the doctor has this list of DVDs that he wants to give to Sally, but Billy's got to be the one to give her that list, but he's got to do it the long way around. He's literally got to live through all these years to get to that point to give her the DVD list. It is heartbreaking. It's sad. The fact that we've just met this character, he seems really nice. He likes Sally. She likes him. And then the next minute, he's dead. The Doctor and Sally's conversation. This is such an awesome moment in this story. So when they start to figure out what's going on here with this conversation, Sally and Larry go to the house. They bring out the DVDs. They start watching them through, and they eventually figure out that this is half a conversation from the Doctor. The other half of the conversation is Sally. She just starts talking, and all of a sudden it's like they're actually communicating with each other over like a Zoom call or something, over like Skype. It would have been back in the day, but yeah, it's like, what is going on here? And then Sally realizes from the Doctor that Larry is writing down Sally's kind of version, like what Sally's saying in this conversation to fill in the gaps from the Doctor's conversation. And it turns out that is then going to be given to the Doctor in the future, who is actually the Doctor from the past, who will then have that conversation. It's a very, obviously, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey thing. It is ridiculously ludicrous. It is quite complicated, but it's also, once you get your head around it, maybe it's just because I've seen this episode so many times that I just know what's going on. But it's one of those timey wimey things that to me makes sense. It takes a bit to get around to, but it's so clever and so creative, and I love it. The Weeping Angels can only move if they're not being looked at. So we haven't really talked much about the Weeping Angels yet. Yeah, they take people back in time, of course, by being touched. They basically live you to death. They send you back in time until you then will be dead at kind of, let's say you got taken back, you were in 2010, you got touched by an angel, you got sent back in time, then you'll be sent back to a time where in 2010, you will die in 2010 just after you were initially touched by the angel. I think that's how it works. And the thing with these angels is if you're looking at them dead in the eye, they cannot move. But as soon as you blink, as soon as you take your eye off them in any way, they can move and touch you and send you back. So you've got to keep your eyes on them at all times. The TARDIS leaves them behind and makes the angels look at each other. So the Doctor is able to somehow give one of the angels, like one of the angels has the keys to the TARDIS. And Sally takes the keys to the TARDIS, opens up the TARDIS, puts like a disc in. One of the DVDs, I think, is he's worked it out. The Doctor's made it so that will fly the TARDIS. Puts that in the TARDIS, lets the TARDIS fly away, but it doesn't fly away with Sally and Larry. They're inside the TARDIS, but it leaves them behind, which I think is a really weird thing. And yeah, basically the angels are all around the TARDIS, trying to, rock the TARDIS around to get them out of the TARDIS. But when the TARDIS disappears, it leaves Larry and Sally behind, but it also makes the angels look at each other. They're all now looking at each other, and now can never move again. Because it's not just if they're being observed by other creatures, if they are being observed by each other, they cannot move. And these angels don't blink. So they are looking at each other for the rest of time. These angels will never move again. I thought that was such a cool way to get these angels all, to never move again. Although, I will be honest, surely there was more angels than that. I don't know, 7 or 8 angels that are around the TARDIS there. There was definitely more angels than that around. So you've stopped those angels, but what about all the other ones? Surely there's more, which is kind of hinted at in the end, to be honest. Sally gives the Doctor the finished transcript. That is the final thing at the end. Sally and Larry are now like dating, and the Doctor rocks up just outside of their shop. Sally goes out to give him the finished transcript with, of course, both sides of the conversation. At this point, though, this is the Doctor from the past, so none of this has happened to him yet. So she gives him this transcript. He has no idea what's going on, but that is going to set up the rest of this story. It's very much just like a loop, that has to happen for this to happen. It's such a cool little ending, and it just tops off this episode. So Blink, a rating out of 10. I think it's pretty obvious. It's a 10 out of 10. This is such a good story. It's regarded as one of the best Doctor Who stories in the show's history for a reason. Is it a good episode to start watching Doctor Who from? I'm not 100% sure, just because it isn't it's not really a traditional Doctor Who story, it's not the Doctor and his companion running around and doing things. It is these other people kind of doing stuff with the Doctor there in the background, so I'm not sure if it's necessarily the best place to start watching Doctor Who, but I mean, it's definitely not the worst, and it is a 10 out of 10 episode. It is such a good episode. The thought of the Weeping Angels is such a unique and cool kind of design, and the way they work. The characters in this are all great. Sally's great. Kathy, for how much we see her, is great. Larry's a really funny, cool character. The Doctor and Martha are good as well. Not a lot to do for Martha, but I think it's fine in this because you've got Sally as kind of almost the companion in this story. And there's really nothing. There's nothing really bad to say about this, other than the fact that obviously all the angels haven't been stopped by this, because you've only trapped these 6 or 7 around the TARDIS. But that is kind of it is kind of shown in the end anyway, with, at the end, there's all these pictures of all these other angels, possible angels. So it's kind of, it's kind of leaning into that anyway. So I can't really take it away for that. So yeah, it's an easy 10 out of 10 for Blink. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.